Welcome back to Big Sky Buckets. I'm Big Sky, and today we're talking about the Terry Rozier trade. First thing in the morning, we get news from Woj that the Heat have traded Terry Rozier for Kyle Lowry and a lottery-protected 27 first-round pick. Before we get into it, break it all down, talk about the Heat, talk about the Hornets, and then kind of a little ramble about what teams around the Heat or competitors in the East might do going forward closer to the deadline, before just kind of a little hint going into the big buyer sellers video that I will be doing coming up shortly, whether it's by the end of this week or by the beginning of next week. But before we begin, if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. I'd really appreciate all the subscriptions and support as I get this thing up and going. Like, comment, all of that. If you're an audio-only listener, give it a rate, give it a listen, and let's get into it. So, Terry Rozier traded the Heat for Kyle Lowry on an expiring deal, $30 million, and a 27 lottery-protected pick. If it doesn't compay in 27, it will move to 28 unprotected, which I give this a B for the Hornets just because it's a little bit questionable how they didn't get more assets for Terry Rozier unless the Heat were the only team in that sweepstakes. I think they could have gotten more, but that's just speculation. We'll talk about the Hornets first since I'm already going off about it. For the Hornets side, this is kind of interesting in my opinion, just because I wonder if this has to do with new ownership coming in. You know, Michael Jordan sold the team at the beginning of the year, or just before the beginning of the year. And ownership, whether for better or for worse, normally comes in and shakes things up to showcase their new vision. This almost always happens. It just is what it is, and it remains to be seen whether this is for better or for worse. Personally, I like the idea of trying to move towards a youth movement. Might be a stretch, but to embrace the youth. LaMelo, Brandon Miller, Mark Williams, and then the rest of them fire sale the whole team, which is basically what they've said, and then figure out what the team looks like after the draft this year and whether a player of a certain age and talent level becomes available to use the rest of the assets that you might obtain for the rest of the trade deadline can be used to go out and get and make a push towards the playoffs, a push to be a better franchise than they currently are. They are the most cursed franchise without question in the NBA. It sucks if you're a Hornets fan. Have a friend who is one. Shout out to you, Eli. But look, this is a start. I don't know if I love this start for the Hornets. Like I said, I think they could have gotten more, but it is what it is. It remains to be seen what they do for the rest of time going into the trade deadline, what more assets they acquire, and then from there we can have more speculation about, is this just to embrace building through the draft, which the only reason that I push back on that, even though I love building through the draft, I think it's the right way to do it. There is a point where when your team's like the Detroit Pistons currently, when you've been the Sacramento Kings for, you know, the 16 years that led you to the playoff run last year, there's more of a question of it doesn't always work. So we'll keep our eyes out, our ears open on what the Hornets' vision is going forward with the new ownership group, but this is a start. It's not the greatest start I've ever seen, but it is a step in the right direction of figuring out, basically giving yourself flexibility moving forward if you're the Hornets. Now, if you're the Heat, this is obviously an A. You gave up minimal assets. You gave up expiring Lowry, who is washed. There's no way around it. He's been awful this year. Lottery protected or not, if on some miraculous way the Heat are not good in 27 and the lottery protected pick actually conveys into a unprotected 28, what a massive win for the Hornets. But if you are the Heat, you just gave up basically nothing. You gave up one pick, which has been very valuable for the Heat because they've drafted very well. You look at Jaime Jaquez this last year, you still don't really know what you have in Jovic. He may be another trade piece going forward. We don't really know what the Heat are going to do. But when you look at this team, this is good. This is very good. This helps your offense a lot. That has become stagnant as of recently, which is really what to blame for the losing streak that they're on. This helps you with playmaking because Terry comes in and gives you playmaking, gives you shooting. And this has been the formula for the Heat in the past 4 years. There's a lot of not necessarily playmakers at the guard position, but shot makers. You hope that Terry can do some level of defense, but I think if you're looking at this, there's more of a question for the Heat in terms of, do you want Terry and Tyler starting for you, or do you want to have Terry start for you and move someone like Duncan Robinson up to the shooting guard position? These are questions that we will have answered for us sooner rather than later as Terry gets to playing time with the Heat and starts to understand the system and all of that. But shooting, playmaking, athleticism at the guard position, these are all good things for the Heat and things that they've needed during this small little losing streak. They still have Caleb Martin. That's great. They still have Kevin Love coming off the bench. You have Duncan Robinson, as I talked about, Jaime Jaquez, Haywood Highsmith, Jimmy, Bam. This team should be a top 4 team in the East come playoff time. It's really about, does it all fit together during the regular season and they start going on a win streak? That remains to be seen. But if I'm the Heat, you may want to at least, yes, they only have one point guard, but they've gotten around that before because of Jimmy playmaking, Bam playmaking, all of that. If you're the Heat, you probably look towards, if you're going to make one more move, a backup center is most likely inevitable. Yes, you can have Kevin Love play the backup 5 if you want. I'd rather have him play backup 4, honestly, for his playmaking and his shooting. But, you don't want to have 48 minutes of Bam because that's just super draining on Bam and how important his position is. You probably just need like a rebounding, slightly okay defensive big to play 5-10 minutes a game in the playoffs if need be. So if I'm the Heat, I'm doing at most one more move for a backup center. Otherwise, this is the team that they got going forward. We'll see if that happens or not. If you're the Heat, this is obviously a step in the right direction for a team that should be competing now. I have questions about why they went with the cheap route of Terry Rozier when I think DeJounte Murray solves all of the issues for them, but it is what it is. That's in the past. What is true, though, is that they need to figure it out quickly. Because, yes, they can make it to the finals as an 8th seed, but why the hell would they? Making a trade like this basically says we need help now to put ourselves in position to go on that run. We've had conversations, and everyone's had conversations about Jimmy Butler. He doesn't take the regular season very seriously, so you need more help during the regular season to put yourself in the best position to just go on a run. Have a easy first round, then hit the gauntlet in the second round and the conference finals. So this is all very good. My question here, like I've said about will they make another move, I think that they might stay pat unless teams like the 76ers, the New York Knicks, make another move. Even the Boston Celtics have the assets to make more moves for bench depth. We'll see what happens there, but all of these things are things to look out for. But this is a good trade for the Heat. This is an interesting trade for the Hornets. I mean, I'm trading him is a win for the Hornets in general, just because they're not going anywhere with him. Might as well just get assets in return. It's just a question of what. I know they're going to try and trade Lowry. I don't really know how you're going to do that, to be honest, but the question here is, what is the grand plan for the Hornets going forward, and do the Heat get pressured to do one more move because the competition around them, rivals around them, decide that they also want to get better at the deadline? So things to look forward to when we do the big buyer-sellers video, and like I said, that will come out by either the end of the week or the beginning of next week, when there's only at least 1 week left between now and the deadline. But yeah, look, short one today. Still working on that big video. This did need to be talked about because I've been asking for the Heat to make a trade. They went and did so, and they did it early enough to give them leeway to make another trade if things don't pan out necessarily as they wanted it to in the next couple of weeks. So this is all collectively good for the Heat. For the Hornets, you get to look around the league now and say, look, we're buyers. We're going to take your bad salary. We can do that. So we're open for business. We'll see if we can get any more suitors. And I think they will. But thank you guys so much for watching. Sub, like, comment, and I will see you guys by the end of the week or the beginning of next week with the big boy buyers sellers video. Peace.